Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. So today, we're going to do something a little different. We've got classes that are starting next week, so we're going to jump ahead a little bit. The two most important things we can do is one, throw cylinders, and two, we got to trim our stuff. So I have a couple of bowls here, and I'm going to show you guys how we run through, just a basic trim job. So let's get to it. First thing. Get rid of these. Don't trim on this. It's too slick. It's too hard to anchor your pot down. It just slides around. Sometimes we use Giffen grips. Sometimes people like to use pieces of clay. I don't like that. I don't think they hold very well. But definitely, whatever you do, we're going to trim directly on the wheel head. I like to use some slip to anchor my pot down, and I just have this slip I've made from my bucket slop, right? And you can see it's kind of tacky. It's not very wet, and that's the best thing to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my bowl and kind of identify which ring and where this is sitting, and I'm going to put a nice layer on there just like that. Once I have my slip on the wheel head, I'm going to set it down right in the goo. Okay, it's out of center. Let's give it a little tap. And we'll just tap that into center. Now, I know some of you are looking at that and saying, whoa, I don't know how to tap center. That's okay. Let's knock this out of center a little bit, right? As I put my finger here, can you see? Bam, bam, right there. Push that into the center. And that's pretty close. Okay, and we can keep working that. I do need to move pretty quickly with this slip because it bites it pretty fast. So I'm just gonna finish this off and get that centered, okay? Once I get that centered, I like to give it a little push, and I'll run my fingers around that edge while it's spinning and push down. So we got a couple extra balls here, right? And we did this to show you the thickness. One of the biggest problems we see is this is either too thick or too thin is what most people are doing. So if we're really going to try and get zen with it, we want to try and make this completely even all the way throughout and around the piece. So you can see down here in the corners that there's extra clay. That's what we want to leave so that we can put more of an arch, more of a belly, and get more of that nice bowl form out of our pieces. Okay, so this is just one that's split in half to show you. We're going to trim another one, and then we're going to cut that one in half when we get done. I am using a couple fancy tools here. I am going to put the links to these tools in the comments section, but they're all pretty much the same, right? This just has a straight edge. Find a straight edge tool. This one's curved. Find a curved edge tool. It's good to have one of each when we're trimming. So I'm going to start with, this is my favorite tool. I use this tool every day for every piece, no matter what. I will get a rounded tool in there from time to time, but this is my go-to tool. Because I think it's helpful for new students to start with a curved tool, I'm going to start with this curved tool, okay? Everything is the same. All the principles really are the same for any pot you're going to trim. But with this one, so as I start, I will always start on this outside edge before I trim the top of this pot. With the outside edge, overhand grip, okay? Think hockey stick, tennis racket, golf club, baseball bat, anything. Get an overhand grip on this. I'm not coming in here like this, right? I've got my left hand on the pot. I've got my thumb against the tool. I'm trimming in this way, so I want to have that backing pressure to counter that opposite force, right? I'm going to start just below 3 o'clock, and I'm not flat with this pot. I'm up on this edge, nice fast wheel speed, arms down, squeeze the wheel with your legs, cut, and fade. Okay? What I really like about trimming like this is I can run all the way down, right? There's nothing blocking me from running this tool all the way down. Let's go one more time. I start on the corner, a little bit at a 45, cut, and fade. And just run that out. That's where I want to start. When I go to trim this foot, a couple things. I'm going to put a more defined bevel on that edge. And this is for a couple reasons. One, if I want to leave this flat, this creates some nice separation between where the bowl will sit on the ground and the contour of the bowl. And looking at this bowl, I can come in here a little bit more and bring just a little bit more of that in. Okay? So if I want to be done, this is a great place to stop. This is done. This looks clean. I've got a nice little foot. It's flat on the bottom. Hey, we're done. But let's take it a step further. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to notch in a vertical right at the toe of that slope. And now I'm gonna drive inward, not down. And I'm holding straight. I didn't turn up into it. And that creates that exterior foot. From here, I can bring this down a little bit and roll that into the body of the bowl. And now we have a nice raised foot. Good. Now, like I said, I will complete this before I ever start in here. Now, from this point, I am going to mark how wide I want this foot. And if I'm going to try and be really particular about it, this foot should be the same thickness as the wall of the piece. So I'm going to mark my depth, how far I'm going to trim. And if you threw a pretty even walled and even floored bowl, I should be able to take this as deep as I can take this. Giving it a little tap to feel how thick it is, and I can feel that there is a fair amount of clay. In fact, it should be this thick. I should be able to trim that the same. So we've marked our depth and our width. Now when we trim the top, pencil grip over the top, right? I'm gonna square up to the clay. I'm not gonna be turned away from it. I'm gonna cut dead center and I'm gonna push straight out. That's what this thumb is doing. 3 points of contact, tool, hand, clay. And I actually try and touch over here too. So I've got all sorts of contact with this piece. So one more time, I'm going to cut and push straight out. I'm not going to pull back, and I'm not going to allow the spin of the wheel to turn me away from the piece. So nice and fast, fast wheel, slow hands. Cut and push. When you start that cut in the middle, your left corner of your tool should never cross left of center. If you come over here, you're going to start digging clay out because the clay is turning into that tool. We need the clay passing through and away from the tool. One more time. Cut and push. Feeling how thick it is, and we can go a little bit more. Cut and push. This time, as I push, I'm going to turn down into that corner. And that's going to create a nice curvature on that foot. So that curve should maybe, in theory, go through the foot and pick up onto the bowl. So it's one continuous arc. And I can probably bring this down a little bit. I really enjoy trimming. It's nice to kind of create the shape and the look that you want. This is the time when we can really refine and change the look of things, right? And I don't think I have too much more clay to work with here. I'm just kind of tinkering and cleaning up a little bit and just looking at these small little lines. And there is our trimmed bowl, right? Pretty nice. And I can come in here, let's knock this just a little bit, hit that corner, right? We're just giving it just little finishing touches. I don't want to get carried away because it is easy to get too far to trim too much, and then you're through the bottom of your piece. There might be a little bit more clay there, but I'm going to stop there. To release this pot, if your pot is soft, right, it shouldn't have any flex in it. It should be firm. It shouldn't be moving around no matter how you're attaching your pot. If it's firm enough, I can just very gently start to engage the wheel, very, very slow, and then opposite, twist that bowl free. It does leave a little bit of goo right here, but I can just take a damp sponge and we've got a nice trimmed bowl. Lovely bowl. Can you see that arc coming through the bottom? So let's take our nicely trimmed bowl and cut it in half. It's a little stiff. We should be able to get through. Good. So there's a nice cross section of our bowl, and you can see the original. So pretty even. Looks like I got a little thin right here, and I could have definitely pulled a little bit more through here. I was being cautious, but you can see the depth is nearly even on both sides. So I could have taken a little bit more in here and a little bit more here. Not the end of the world, still a really nice bowl, and I would be very happy with this. So guys, trimming 101, real simple, real quick, real easy. We'll do some more trimming videos as we progress here. You know, obviously there's a bit more intricacy in larger pieces, plates, platters, all sorts of different things. Sometimes for larger pots, I actually won't even trim the bottom. I will just cut a bevel in on the outside as I'm throwing it, and that will help me, you know, so I don't have to flip it, because oftentimes larger pieces, I cannot put them on the lip without busting, cracking, or just physically holding them and squeezing them tight enough to get them turned over without dropping them. Oftentimes we'll just crack them just like that. So please feel free to leave any questions you have down in the comments section, and we'll see you next time.